Hey everybody, so you've got parts that look something like this, but you want them to look something like that. It's a lot easier than you think. Let me show you how. Okay, so before we get started, I just wanted to cover a couple things, okay? When it comes to polishing aluminum, it is very, very simple. It is not rocket science at all. And a lot of people get hung up on it thinking that there's all this prep work and stuff. I'm gonna take this piece and go right to the wheel with it, okay? I'm not gonna sand it down. I'm not gonna try and clean it off, anything like that. I mean, it's not greasy or anything like that, but this is what's getting polished right there. And so what I wanted to say is you have to have your expectations. You know, what type of finish are you actually going for? Are you trying to take some cast aluminum and make it look like it was billet, like it was milled that way? Because if so, I mean, you can do that, but you're going to have a lot of prep work of sanding out all the little imperfections, all the casting lines, things like that. Me personally, I'm working on something that's 50 years old. I want it to have the little marks and nicks and the character that's still in there. So I'm not going to town trying to like completely make everything perfect before I even get started. Every piece that you see that's polished here got cleaned off into greaser, dried off, and just went right on the buffing wheel. And if there's gouges, if there's scratches, anything like that, yeah, they're smoothed over. You can still find them if you look for them, but that's, to me, is just part of the character. So you have to decide like how far you want to go, because you can go to town and you can make this stuff glow in the dark, but it's all what you're after. So you have to put, if you're after that kind of a finish, then you have to put in a little extra work. But it's the same process if you're doing, you know, stainless steel, brass, copper, anything like that. Pretty much anything that doesn't rust, you can polish, and it's very simple. I'm gonna show you on my polishing wheel over here, which is really just a glorified bench grinder with a buffing pad on it. I'm going straight for the real fine polishing compound. I don't step down from like really coarse stuff and work down medium. It's not like that. You do that if you're using sandpaper. And I do have a part that I'm gonna dig out that I polished. It's got flat sides. So I was able to use just strictly sandpaper, start with say like a 220 grit, go to 400, 600, 800 to 1,000, something like that. And since it's flat, I could just put it right on my bench, back and forth, with it wet, and it polished up fantastic. And then with that one, to finish it, I went ahead and used, they're those fingernail buffing pads. I get them at the grocery store. They're like 99 cents, and it's like just a foam rectangle that's got 4 different colored sides on it. If you have something that already has a decent finish, or it's already been polished or came that way, you can take one of those things and just sit there and buff the thing. You know, you start on side number 1 and then you go to number 2. Those things work fantastic. It's why I said it's, you know, polishing aluminum, it's not rocket science. So enough of that. Let me go ahead and move you over to the bench. We'll get this guy going, okay? Okay, so over here, you see my glorified bench grinder, like I said. This one just has a little bit longer of a shaft, just to keep you away from the motor. It's not necessary. I mean, technically you could put one of these buff pads in an angle grinder and put it in a vise. It doesn't matter, it just has to spin, you know? Have yourself a pair of gloves, because the part you're polishing is going to get hot. I've got a couple different pieces that we're gonna do. This here is billet aluminum. This here is the starter adapter on my Spitfire. It's already been hit with just a wire wheel when I was cleaning everything off. So it's already got a little bit of a shine, but what I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and polish part of it, and we can sort of see the difference between the two, okay? And then these are 2 different grades of polishing compound. I've gone through all the different ones. I don't bother with anything other than the fine stuff anymore. I mean, they do have finer ones that go for doing plastics, things like that. But the green compound, this just works great for, you know, aluminum, stainless, things like that. It's just meant for a finer finish, okay? So when I'm polishing, I'm not going to be able to talk. I might try and voice over, but I don't know. So all we're going to do is we're going to load a little bit of the polish on there. If you get way too much, like if you're polishing for a long time, you can get too much compound caked on here. And you really just take anything with an edge and just hit it and let it sort of peel some of that stuff off of there. But usually you're just touching it for a few seconds, back on your way. You're also going to be changing direction, okay? So you might be going at it this way for a second, and going at it this way, going at it at an angle. You're gonna find that the metal has a grain, much like wood, the way that everything lines up in the metal. And you'll find that sometimes you might be just going at something and it's like, man, you're just not getting the finish you want. Well, change it up. Do it from this direction versus up here. Do it, you know, where you're using the side and you're coming along it. Just change it up. You're not going to do anything wrong. And then at the end, after you've gone ahead and you've polished your whole part, or as far as you want to go with it, put a little bit more compound on and just do a nice light brush where you're just buzzing the surface. And that's just going to give it one final nice little soft polish. It'll get a lot of the residue because you're going to get a lot of this black, and the green turns to black from the, you know, from the metal. But you're going to get a lot of residue all over everything you do, yourself included. So don't come out in a nice clothes thinking you're going to go ahead and polish stuff, because everything does get black. But that last nice little light pass will help get that off. You can wash the rest off with say like dish soap and water. One thing that I will stress, okay, a long time ago I used to have one of these mounted up on a pedestal where there was nothing around it, and it made it nice because you could just pull it out, plug it in, and stand there and polish wherever you wanted. Because usually I will take this outside to do it, because all of the fluff that comes off of the wheels, this used to be that size, as you can sort of see, all that fuzz and all the black gets everywhere. So a lot of times I'll just take this out on a folding table, clamp it down to it, and work outside, let all the fuzz float away. But when you're working on it, you can see granted this is on a wood bench right now. I've got a little towel underneath here, okay? Sooner or later, you're gonna do something that it's not gonna like, and it's gonna grab it, especially if you're doing an edge, or you're doing something like this that has an edge. It's gonna grab it and it's gonna pull it out of your hands. If you're up on one of those pedestals, now your part just went flying across the floor, getting dinged up along the way. It's better having something really close, something soft, to where if it flings off, it doesn't have that far to go. You're not gonna really like ding up your part or anything like that. So just have something, like I said, it's better to go ahead and have something a lot closer for that part to go, because they will fly out of your hands. And it's better, it's just safer to where you're not damaging your part, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and mount this back on a tripod, and I'm just gonna go ahead and buzz part of these. I'm not gonna sit here and polish them all day for you. Just to show you how quick and the difference. You can see this one, this piece I made about 15 years ago, and it did spend some of its time underwater. This one is yet another one of those 50-year-old parts, and like I said, this was already put on just a wire wheel, just to clean off all the gook. You can see all of that stuff is still inside there. That's what it looked like. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and then I've got that EGR valve that we'll go ahead and give that a bit of a polish too. All right, so hang out, I'll get you up on a tripod. Okay, so went ahead and I polished 3 different pieces for you. Okay, so we'll start with that starter ring. All right, so it's cast aluminum that's been machined on just the front and the back. I'm only concerned about the outside edge because that's all you see when it's bolted on. But do you see the difference right about there, where this is what a wire wheel does versus a polishing wheel? Okay, and this one I didn't really bother cleaning up too much because as soon as I'm done showing you, I'm gonna go finish this guy out. Okay, so there's that one. Now the fun one, yeah, watch out for the light reflection, right? So like I said in the beginning, this is billet, all right? It was already a smooth finish, but I didn't clean it off. I didn't do anything to it. And I think out of the 10 minutes that I spent polishing the parts, this took about 2 minutes to get half of it knocked out to that kind of a shine. You know, it shows the difference in what prep work can do and how much nicer it is polishing out billet parts and stuff. And then I went ahead and hit part of this guy real quick, okay? So this is that EGR valve from the very beginning. And if you look from that side, I went a little overboard and kept going further than I was supposed to. But this is where we started at. And this was just a couple minutes on the buffer, okay? So you can stay on this stuff as long as you want and you can get a great finish. Or like I said, if you're really after just an amazing shine, you can stay on cast parts and you can get them to look great, but you're gonna have to put the extra legwork in the beginning, getting everything prepped and smoothed out and stuff. Whereas, like I said, you know, if you look at that real close, and yeah, I would keep going further with this piece, but all those little casting marks, or I know there's some nicks in this thing, it's just like scars and souvenirs of its of its existence, you know what I mean? So me personally, on this car, yes, I'm gonna leave things like that. This came off of a custom motorcycle that I no longer have. This would have been just a complete mirror finish. That bike was nothing more than just going on shows and being in magazines, you know what I mean? So you can go as far as you want to, but at the end of the day, you see, it doesn't take that much equipment. It doesn't take that much time, and you can go as far as you want to and really make things stand out. You know, it's nice when you have things and you clean them off and it's like, okay, they're nice and clean. But once you actually see like the finish that's hiding underneath that, it's really, you kind of get a little bit addicted to it. That's why I'm doing my my starter adapter, you know what I mean? Because it's like the more and more that I find that, oops, there's one little piece of aluminum or a piece of stainless or something like that, I can't help myself. It's like I want to show off what it really is, okay? Whether it's going to be a bear to clean or not, at one point in this car's life, when it's all said and done, it's going to be beautiful for at least a moment, okay? So I hope this helps you guys out. And Steve, this one was for you. I want to see your carbs glow in the dark when you're done with them, okay? So, all right, I hope this helps you guys. Now you got to get back to work. Hold on. I told you in the beginning I was going to show you one other part that I did with just sandpaper, okay? So I'm going to bring this in. And all right, so the red is my sandblast cabinet across the room, okay? And like I said, this was done just with sandpaper that I taped down to my bench, got it wet, and started with, say, like a 220 grit, worked up to, I don't know what it was, maybe 800 or 1,000, whatever came in like the little multi-pack of wet, dry sandpaper. You can get it at any of the, like a hardware store or something like that. But like for a flat surface, that's the way to go. It's very easy. Now, can you polish everything with sandpaper? Sure, you can. It's a lot harder to keep your finish even and stuff like that, trying to, you know, get in and sand everything. But this is definitely an option if you're doing something that's easy to manage or very small. you can sit there and do it that way. And like I say, those fingernail buffing pads, those things are awesome for doing small parts. And you really wouldn't think about it, but for $1, it's amazing the finish you can get out of something that's already halfway decent, let's say. So that's that. I'll let you go now. See you guys.